All right, we left off part one talking about the national bank veto and how Jackson basically opposed the bank because he felt he had too much power to the rich. He wanted to oppose Nicholas Biddle, Henry Clay, people who he thought were trying to keep all the power with that one upper group. When Jackson uh, vetoes a bank. Okay, a lot of speculators out west, speculators who are investing in land, trying to build land up. They created what were called wildcat banks. Basically, wildcat banks gave loans to anybody who wanted a loan. This wasn't good. They gave money out in paper currency. They flooded the market with paper currency. Here's a problem. That increased inflation. And so to stop that, the government said, and Jackson's government said, fine, you can only buy federal land with gold or silver. It was a huge shock to the system because guess what? There wasn't that much, you guessed it, gold. So they called it the specie circular 1836. That you can only use that metal coin, the gold and silver coin, to buy land. It shocked us. All of a sudden now all this paper money you have is worthless. Jackson's big goal was to curb land speculation, but instead ends up doing a lot more damage. Obviously, we kind of see this cartoon here, 1832, saying idea of King Andrew. You know how much power does he bring into the presidency? I think he changes a lot of things. I mean, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, when early on, you know, the ideas of, well, you can't run, be president, you're not right to be president. He goes, try me. Yes, I can. All right. When South Carolina tries to leave, first they'll try to nullify a law. He says, the hell you will. It's not going to happen. Then South Carolina tries to secede based under the guise of John C. Calhoun. He says, yeah, not going to happen. In fact, he actually threatens to remove John C. Calhoun's head from his body. Um, you have issues of Henry Clay when he tries to kind of push through that one bill to help out his one state. And Jackson says, the hell you will. We can talk about in this lecture, talk about it next time, next chunk, but when the Supreme Court says, yeah, listen, Jackson, you can't force the Cherokee off their land, he says, make me, bring it. So obviously, he kind of brings this idea of, you know, is he, you know, and when it comes to the bank, we're going to renew the bank. The hell you will. You're not going to renew that bank. So people kind of compare him to this whole king kind of deal. As of 1832 comes up, and we start seeing some changes happen. Obviously, Democrats have been in charge for a long, long time. New party gets going. The Whigs get going. That'd be Henry Clay's party. Okay, they're really less concerned about rich and poor issues. Uh, they really were worried. They really were opposed to a liberal capitalism. They thought they want to have more federal power, more national government. They didn't want to see any removal happen. Support a national bank. Essentially, everything anti-Jackson were the Whigs, whereas the Democrats were Whigs' big part. Were Jackson's group. They believed that non-producers use. They talk about government corruption. Idea of non-producers using government connections line their own pockets. They felt they really said, you know, the big gap between rich and poor. They wanted to see any removal. They wouldn't want tariffs. They wanted states' rights. All those kind of things with the Democrats of Jackson. Now, obviously, we have the specie circuit we talked about a few minutes ago. We had Olive Jackson, kind of his lessening strength at the end of his time. He leaves presidency in 1836. I mind you. Um, Banknotes. As you can only use that gold or silver now for land, the paper banknotes that are out there, paper money, lose all its value. Nobody wants to buy land anymore. Credit not available to anybody. All of a sudden, you can't pay your loans back in that paper money. It's basically worthless. Businesses fail, people lose their land, unemployment rate goes up in the air. Panic 1837 hits. And so the panic is this big, huge economic panic where basically everyone's saying, oh God, here's stuff is happening. Now, early on, this could have been limited to a very small area. But now with the idea of communication, especially the idea of newspapers, especially the idea of, of, of Morse code and the telegraph system, this travels pretty quickly. Actually, it starts up here. You know, it starts here. You know, you know, May 4th. You know, in down here, you kind of see the news kind of spreads throughout everywhere, back and forth throughout the whole country until it's basically a nationwide panic. And as banks hear about this, they shut down their loans. Banks, when they shut down there, they call their loans. People can't pay their loans off, and the panic just goes everywhere. And honestly, the panic hit everybody. It just didn't hit one or two people. It hit a lot of people. It hit rich. It hit poor. It made things difficult for everybody, not just one class of people. Um, Now, after Andrew Jackson had left the presidency, retired, his vice president, his hand-picked successor, Martin Van Buren, takes over. Martin Van Buren inherits the Panic of 1837 and essentially is hated by, everybody because everybody blames the Panic of 1837 on him. When in fact, who can you blame for it? Probably Andrew Jackson. Long story short, Andrew Jackson's retirement goes back to his home in Tennessee called the Hermitage. You think about it, he had a very people talk about, but is he a good president, bad president? Does he deserve to be on a $20 bill? Not deserve to be on a $20 bill? A lot of those things come in that way. Whether he's a good president or a bad president, he did change the presidency. He brought a lot more power to the presidency and a lot more power to the executive branch, even though he said that was not his goal in the end. It was funny when he left the presidency. Martin Van Buren asked him, "What regrets you have about your presidency?" He says, "I have two. I didn't hang John C. Calhoun, and I didn't shoot Henry Clay." Before his death, he says same thing. I didn't shoot Henry Clay. I didn't hang John C. Calhoun, and I didn't bet on a certain racehorse or something like that. It came down to. I mean, he was their first common man, the first dueler, fighter, gambler kind of guy in the presidency. Here you see the only photo of Andrew Jackson. This is a year before his death in 1844. He died in 1845. As he died from old age. Very interesting figure and a very big part of this whole idea between nationalism and sectionalism in the United States in the early 19th century. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk about this in class as part of your big debate.